representative for the constituency of St. James Central. Kerrie now, Kerrie again.
With the BLP, all our way, one family, all our way with the BLP, all our way with me. Come let me step with me, be making it better. With me, climbing up the ladder, being looking back, lad. Everybody know, come get aboard. We're taking the more heavy load. Let me come together and make things better. No, we're ready for the road. You don't want a drama, no, get on board with me. It's one big family and we're rolling with BLP. And together we rolling, together we moving, together we working, and we building. Tell me how you're feeling. You know why? All our way with the BLP, all our way, one family, all our
arm and leg we have to play while our leaders play. Christchurch, how are you feeling? You should be feeling good. Your leader is playing. You should be vexed, man. Christchurch wanna vex. Do you want to have Fran Stewart removed from office? I can't hear you. Do you want to have Fran Stewart removed from office? Ring the bell. I want to say a pleasant good night to all of you from the parish of Christchurch. I want to say it is a pleasure to come here tonight to speak on behalf of the candidacy of Medic Ford. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if you all heard. Let me start correctly. All right, you give him a chance, give him a chance, give him a chance. I hope that you all heard. This party intends to honor the tradition, the sacred tradition of Easter. Next Sunday is Palm Sunday. After that is Easter Sunday. We cannot, even though he deserves it, we cannot be lambasting from the shirt during Easter time on the national platform. So there will be a little pause for a couple of weeks while we observe the sacred tradition of Easter. Permit me, ladies and gentlemen, to begin tonight by wishing you in advance a blessed Easter. Thank you. Now, a couple of things I have to say. First of all, this week, we saw in the press, I believe it was on Thursday, a story that came from England. Or rather, we heard it in the press. And then the following day, I was quite surprised, and there are very few things that surprise me in public life anymore. But I was rather surprised to see in the Nation newspaper a response to the story that came from England, and that response came from Richard Seeley, the Minister of Tourism. That is true, he's an idiot, but that would surprise me. I should surprise you too, he was an idiot for a time you know him. But the point is this, man. Richard Seeley took issue and he said he's horrified. And he said he's disgusted and shocked that this story coming from England is the story that y'all know about. I presume that y'all know about this story. Well, if you ain't know, let me help you to know. The Daily Telegraph in England, one of the leading newspapers in the United Kingdom. Don't mind that Ronald Jones went to a branch office opening the other day, yesterday. I came from canvassing around with him, Patrick, about 7:30 night. And I went home. I said, let me see what the foolish people are doing. And I went and looked at the internet. They had about 35 people, so I met 36 on the live feed. And Ronald Jones saying that the boy don't read the paper in England. Now, this is why I feel sorry for people in the Democratic Party, I do. Because there are many of them too faithfully dumb to know that they are being dumb. Richard Seeley wrote to England and complained that the Barbados government does spend so much money with the Daily Telegraph. And the Telegraph should not publish a story like that. Now, if Richard Seeley write to England to complain about how much money he's spending, and Ronald Jones said the boy don't read the paper, well, there got to be a lunatic running the asylum. Why would we be spending the money, Ronald Jones? But that is to digress. Richard Seeley writes to the Daily Telegraph to express horror and shock about a story that said in large measure three things, ladies and gentlemen, comrades and friends. Three things. One, that for 2 years there has been an overwhelming stench and presence of sewage on the south coast of Barbados. Well, that is a fact. The second thing he said, that they said, is that for 2 years there has been an overwhelming presence and scent of uncollected garbage across districts in Barbados. Well, that too is a fact. And that for a good while now, there's been an escalating level of violence in the schools of Barbados. Was that true too? So you got three unquestionable facts. Now, as a Barbadian, I wish that I could say it wasn't true. I don't take pride in seeing a boy berate my country that way. But I don't believe in picking foolish fights. And I ask myself, Richard Seeley, why would you, of all people, write to England to express horror about a story that you know got to be routed in fact? No, why I can't send mine back to November November 2016. In November 2016, you recall that on the beaches of that South Coast in Worthing, that there were signs, warning signs put up all across Worthing Beach, telling people that they must not bathe in that beach because there was the presence of raw sewage, balls of human excrement. Huh? All through the water. You remember that? And was it not the same Richard Seeley, in his capacity of Minister of Tourism and acting Prime Minister of Barbados, that went down to that beach on a date with John Boyce? And he told them, like two adolescent school children falling in love, running up and down the people beach, pulling down the signs. You remember that? And when they done pull down the people's sign, they did not have an interview with the people in the media. You saw the picture in the paper. Two obscure looking men, armed with beach towels as though they went to lie down together. And the two of them admitted that they didn't only put down the sign, but they then went and bathed in the nasty water that the sign tell them don't go and bathe in. You remember that? Well, I thought I was imagining these things. Two, by their own admission, two lawless, nasty red men that went down in there and bathed in the nasty water. And Richard Seeley did not express horror then, but he will now tonight be expressing horror in Barbados. But Richard Seeley, why were you not horrified when, as an acting Prime Minister of this country, man, you went and indulged yourself in that lawlessness? And I want to say to you very seriously now, let's be very real. We have to be very clear about what is happening in Barbados. The one thing that this country must do without, the one thing that we have to be clear that we need to do without, is putting Barbados in a worse situation than it is right now. And Labour Party, if there's one thing you remember about tonight, I ask you to remember this. Any government that wins the next election will have as its first priority, man, its number one priority, the stabilization of Barbados' economy and the stabilization of Barbados' society. That is an inescapable, unavoidable fact, whoever wins. And I also ask you to remember tonight that if we allow the Democratic Labour Party in a state of reckless foolishness to run this ship up on the reef and continue on a path of destruction, they will hand any administration, in fact, they will hand the country as a whole, a poison chalice from which we will be asked to drink on a course of eventual suicide. This country has to stand up and open its mouth in protest against the lawlessness that the Democratic Labour Party is doing. And it was manifested by Richard Seeley's behavior this week. How dare you, Richard Seeley? Listen, the British tourists could come here. They choose to come here. And if they don't come here, we suffer. They have the option. We do not. Let's understand that. We don't have the option. We rely on them. They don't rely on us. And Richard Seeley knows that the government of which he was a part presided over that disaster on the South Coast for at least 2 years, allowing it to get worse. When that situation I just tell you about in November of 2016 took place, the Barbados Labour Party held a mass meeting in Worthing. Y'all remember it? When the customer said that I shouldn't that he behaved in Jobby, we behaved in Jobby, I don't apologize for that. Huh? And the fact of the matter is that at that meeting, ladies and gentlemen, I stood with my cell phone in my hand and I read from TripAdvisor, the world's largest tourism search engine. And I read the comments on TripAdvisor, what people from London and from Canada and from the United States of America were saying about Barbados then. And at that time, this issue was located in Worthing. It had not gotten down by Hastings. It had not gone down by Lanterns Mall. It wasn't crossed the road by Big B Supermarket. You weren't seeing any manholes spouting 2 feet in the air. You weren't seeing toilet paper all through the streets, as you have seen since. So if Richard Seeley want to pick a fight with the Daily Telegraph, beg you, tell it for me, man. Tell it that this issue is rooted in fact. This is a sign that people make up about Barbados, Richard Seeley. Your government failed to do anything about it. Your government relaxed and told the people of Barbados, do not believe your lying eyes when you saw feces stained white paper on the streets of Worthing. Don't believe your lying eyes. It is not sewage. Do not believe your lying noses. It is not what you smell. I guess it was a perfume that Richard Seeley imported. Huh? And now, want to pick a foolish noise that he cannot win with the British press. And I say to you that we got to draw the line in the sand as a people. And as we go forward, I want you to recognize that I ain't talking to you not just as a BLP person. I am talking to you as a Barbadian. I believe the Labour Party can win the next government. And with your blessing, we shall. But I also believe that you must be prepared to speak truth to power and to those in authority. Let us resolve as a country that we must begin to speak truth to whoever is in authority. As a people, we need to do it. And tonight, I want to speak the truth to people in authority at the media. Because that brings me to the second point. Yesterday's front page in Barbados Today. Now, I want to say frankly to you that I don't ask no favor from nobody in media. I have now finished 15 years in the legislature of Barbados. 15. And I never asked a journalist a favor yet. I will call you and tell you I have a story. You want it? Come for it. If you don't want it, somebody else will carry it. I can articulate relatively well. I put my case out there. I don't beg none of them to like me. I really don't care on a personal level who like me or don't like me. I am comfortable in my skin. If the press don't make you, the press can't break you. And I have been around long enough now in these last 15 years that I know that they got people in high places and in low places in that field called the media, that if you got a $100 bill, they will tell you that a lipstick was on a pig and it was the beautiful thing, that most beautiful thing they saw. And if you could get her $50, they will tell you that Jesus incarnate was Lucifer himself. So I don't get tired about that. Right? Prostitution did not begin and end in Bush Hill. And I say this though, I say this, that I don't ask, as a Barbadian, I demand that we have an understanding in this country. You may be entitled to having your own opinion, but you are never entitled to having your own facts. When the Barbados Today published a headline yesterday saying that the Barbados Labour Party stole somebody's manifesto, I was deeply offended. Solution Barbados, that we thief something from them? No, I sat in the cabinet in 2007 when Jerome Walcott, Dr. Jerome Walcott, now our General Secretary, brought to the cabinet of Barbados a cabinet paper urging the cabinet to agree to a policy that we should, as a Barbadian people, have a tax-free basket of goods, including healthy foods, to encourage people to eat healthy in this country, man. Mia Motley was in our cabinet. Cynthia Ford down there was in our cabinet. Dale Marshall over there was in our cabinet. And there are others. So I'm making it up. Ask them. I then campaigned in 2008 as part of a Barbados Labour Party team. I've come here tonight with one piece of thing in my hand. One. And that is the manifesto of the Barbados Labour Party of 2008. And at page 50 of that manifesto, I had it marked. At page 50 of the manifesto, it says, we will remove import duty and VAT from a basket of goods which support healthy eating, include diabetic supplements, low sugar and low fat snacks, cereals, peas, beans, food supplements, multivitamins, and vegetarian burgers, tofu, etc. I ain't making up these things. It is here under the thing called health. And I hold it up. I hold it up for the reptiles in the media. I hold it up for the reptiles in the media to have a look-see. The Barbados Labour Party had a teeth not in front of the body. It has been part of the policy of the party. And it is a disgrace that you rush to print and you don't pick up and spend 5 minutes to do basic research. It is a disgrace. And in 2008, there was no solutions. So how could you steal from that which did not exist? And nobody in 2008 had heard of anybody called Glenville Phillips the second or the third or the fourth or whatever he calls himself. I know Kerrie Symmonds. I know about nobody that looked like me and come from where I come from. That is Kerrie Symmonds the second, the third, the fourth. But if you are Mr. Phillips the second, then Mr. Phillips the second, nobody didn't know about you. So can you thief something from you? Nobody knew what your political views were about anything in 2008. But I will say this. We had heard in 2008 that he was a very vengeful man. He had a grudge owing. And he had a vendetta owing. And he had a debt owing. Because he feel that he heard that he get horned. And the body who he hair horned him is no longer part of the Barbados Labour Party. That body gone long ever since about the business. So why do you have a vendetta owing in 2018? And then 10 years in your spleen. And now you're going to form a political nuisance group called Solutions Barbados, knowing full well that Solutions Barbados has nothing to do with any solution for Barbados. Solutions Barbados is about having a solution for the fact that he feel that he get horned. Oh, this foolishness has to stop. Humbugging people. Let it stop. And let us get on with what we have to come to public life about. And that is advancing the well-being of people in this country. And I come here to Christchurch to associate myself with the candidacy of Medic Ford for that. That young man, Adrian Ford, that young man is keen on redefining representation. And when we speak of redefining representation, as you heard tonight, the manifesto is out there in a draft form. I mean, it can change fundamentally because philosophically and in terms, maybe get a few tweaks in the language, but in terms of the policy, what you see is what you will get. And it is a better document than anything else that's out there right now. The Dems ain't put out nothing, but we saw what the Dems do for 10 years, so they have no credibility and they ain't got the intellect. Expect nothing from them. So we out front, folks. Let me talk about where we want to go. This Christchurch course, much like St. James where I represent, a blessed set of people, surrounded by a precious resource that you call the sea. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Barbados, this gentleman here asked me to talk about Tom Adams. From the day of Tom Adams, Barbados has been treating this Barbados, government after government, as though it is only Christchurch to St. Lucie. There are 200 miles, nautical miles, called an exclusive economic zone out there. You cannot speak to putting this country in a path to growth. You cannot speak about a developmental path of sustainable recovery unless you now include the 200 nautical miles that this country has. They must be developed as a new frontier. Are you with me? None of the politicians out there don't speak this language, so we will speak it for you. And the things that we want to do begin with conservation of that marine area. Now you're going to conserve it because the reefs are dying. As a scuba diver, I can tell you the reefs are in terrible state. And if you have a government that is so lawless as to allow feces to go in the water, the reef will die quicker. You also have predators in the water, not great white sharks, but a little thing called a lionfish. Eating every species they get near to. It matures sexually at 1 year of age. And it breeds all year round. So in many ways, the lionfish is like, who to tell you? The lionfish is like that fella Adriel Braffett. It moves up and down, looking for something young to eat, and looking for something young to have sex with. Y'all come here to behave bad. I come here to talk about policy. And in addition to the conservation mission, we have to develop and empower the people who earn a living on that coast. That is the people of St. James and the people of Christchurch who working in the sea, man. Now I want to talk to you about Christchurch. You have the biggest and arguably the best fish market to be found in Barbados, right here in Oysters. But that fish market must be transformed into a state-of-the-art world-class facility where you have the facilities that you have steel basins, and you have wash-down sinks, and you have a minimum temperature so that the flies ain't all over the meat, and that you can do your boning and cleaning and so on in hygienic and sanitary, the language that they use is sanitary and phytosanitary conditions. When St. Vincent can have such a fish market, and because it has a fish market like that, St. Vincent is in a position to export fish to Europe because they meet the international trade law requirements of having sanitary and phytosanitary conditions. But Barbados, with a vastly superior fishing fleet, with a vastly more experienced set of fishermen, cannot export the product. Then it tells you that this government is hopelessly wrong, man. And that got to be changed. Now you can tell me, I will hear from Fronders Shore and Chris Sinclair that it costs money to retrofit the markets. And my response to them is this: yes, it costs money. But if a government can create a build-own-lease transfer arrangement to build a molasses tank in the Bridgetown port that will cost the government of Barbados $40 million, it will benefit one contractor in Barbados, but you got little molasses there. You can tell me that you cannot have a similar arrangement that will cost less money in order to make sure that 2,000 fisherfolk in Christchurch, 2,000 working class black people in Christchurch are given the economic emancipation and opportunity that they deserve. So don't come to me with that, man. And while we are speaking that language, we have to recognize that Adrian Ford, out of his own volition, Adrian Ford is a man to take his money up and lend it to people so that they could start a small business with Adrian Ford in a bank. Adrian Ford, you do it for you? What does what tell you? I know Adrian Ford is a man who takes time teaching young boys how to drive so that they will have a skill and then connecting them to do freighting. And all through Christchurch, as indeed all through my constituency, you have young people who have a little asset. They might got a truck, might got a fishing boat or two, but they ain't got no land. But these people want to diversify what they're doing. I might own a fishing boat for argument's sake. I might want two. In fact, I'll give you an example of a client I have who had 3 fishing boats valued collectively at $800,000. But had another business, and that business ran into trouble. And the bank coming after her for the business, for the money. So she said, well, I got 3 fishing boats that are functioning. These are assets. But you know, the bank look at her and tell her, man, that fishing boat is 10 years old, the boy ain't giving you the money off of that there. So unless you got some land, or unless you got buildings, we can't help you with a loan for nothing. And I am saying to you that that is wrong. And this Barbados Labour Party wants to come to a point where we can make sure that the assets that ordinary people own, the freighter's truck, the fisherman boat, the equipment that you're using, it has value. Why can that not be placed in a registry called a collateral registry so that you can register that? People know that there's a list of priority connected to that which you are putting up to own, to leverage. And then you borrow a little money to have upward economic and social mobility. Why do the banks in Barbados bend over backwards to help those who are already millionaires in 2018 under the watch of Frontal Stewart, but will suppress, oppress, and repress ordinary black people who elected Frontal Stewart to government? It has to come to an end. And under the leadership of Mayor Motley and the Barbados Labour Party, ladies and gentlemen, it will end. They wanted to hear what we have to say. Now they're hearing what we have to say. All they can say is, man, I feel he thief that from me. Man, I gotta go back and right over. Let's get real. Let us get real. How much more time I got? Huh? I didn't want to talk my talk, but this got me on a tight leash here, man. I want to say to you that this country is pregnant with potential. The problem that we have is that Barbados has a good people, but an exceptionally bad government, an exceptionally lazy government. This marine environment out here, ladies and gentlemen, has to be the breadbasket of the people who have a coastal parish. The breadbasket of the people who have a coastal parish. So for the people of St. Philip, and the people of Christchurch, and the people of St. Michael, and the people of St. James, this Labour Party has a message for you. And I'm saying to you that the day will come, and it will come soon, when you will be able to walk out onto that jetty in Oistins and get on a form of transportation that will carry you down to Worthing, or carry you down to Bridgetown, or carry you down to Whole Town, rather than have to wait on the road-bound transportation that we now have. And there will be people who will anxiously use it because the tourists coming to Barbados will see it as a new attraction. The elderly folk who want to get in the hustle and bustle of pushing and jolting in the sun and the minibus and thing will see it as a form of transportation. My friend Andrew, who like to go driving boat and looking at the nice sights of the land, will be able to sail boat and look at the nice sights of the land. Keep from around the bikinis, Andrew. You're too old to handle them now. But the fact of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, that these are the ways, and I only beginning to put the toe in the water. These are the ways that we want to transform this country. That we want to take resources that are there, that are not developed, that are not touched, and creatively use them to uplift the people of Barbados. I do not accept that because a recession came to our door, that we have only one solution: tax the people unto death. I believe that if you use your God-given intellect, if you use your creative juices, if you embrace the people as Mayor Motley did. Because I went through a process of meeting with stakeholders with that lady. We met with stakeholders across every sector of Barbados. I kid you not, as I stand before you, God is my witness, we would have together met with at least 15 or 20 groups of people representing different sectors and interests to simply hear from them how they feel this country could run better. And all of them, I see the light, all of them, bar none, sent us back with a message. We willing to work with you. And we wish that the man who lead in Barbados had the time to come to us the way you have done. God bless that woman. Ladies and gentlemen, I say to you as I leave this stage that there is a call for you to do like the disciples did shortly after the resurrection of Christ. A voice hailed them on the water, from the land while they had toiled the whole night and caught no fish. Asked them, what you catch, man? And they say, I ain't catch nothing. And he said, put your net on the other side. You in Christchurch West Central have toiled for 10 years with the Democratic Labour Party. In Christchurch South for 10 years with the Democratic Labour Party. In Christchurch East Central and Christchurch East for 10 unhappy years. The time has now come to cast your net on the other side. Give yourself a chance. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for being a welcoming and warm audience. Happy Easter once again. Before I leave, there's one task, a delightful task that I've been asked to execute. I have to bring to you the next parliamentary representative of the constituency of Christchurch West Central. Adrian Medic Ford. A young man with a dynamic action plan. He is here, as I told you before, to redefine representation. His mission in life has been community development. His purpose in life has been community involvement. For 20 years out of his 43, Adrian Ford has been an active community worker. I tell you before, he's put his hand in his own pocket in order to make sure that people have a chance to start a business. He is not a wealthy man, but he's a caring man. He's a compassionate man. He's a dedicated man. Adrian Ford has sat with elderly women after dispensing medication to them to make sure that they don't have an allergic reaction. He is the only pharmacist I know of in Barbados with that dedication, with that care, with that compassion, that dedication to service, that commitment to humanity, that integrity. Ladies and gentlemen, he teaches young people to drive. He takes his Saturday and his Sunday and he lifts up the young people. He is to be found in every community, working with the sporting teams, helping to develop the sporting teams, helping to uplift the sporting teams, helping to finance the sporting teams, training youngsters in different disciplines. Ladies and gentlemen, as I tell you, his mission, his purpose, his dedication is the redefining of parliamentary representation. And there is unequivocally an illness in this constituency. But you need not worry. There is a medic coming to the rescue. There is a medic coming to help you. There is a medic walking among you. There is a medic who will be supporting you. A medic committed to community development. A medic with a proud record of 2 decades of community service. A medic who does not fail to put his hand in his pocket to help the underprivileged, to help the needy, to help those who need genuine assistance. Ladies and gentlemen, wherever you go, the elderly tell you that he has been there for him. The elderly tell you he has lifted them up. The elderly tell you he's walked with them. He's touched them. He has worked with our young people in sports. He's worked with our young people in the arts. He's worked with our young people in culture. I want you to let him come through. I beg you, let him come through. Don't hold back the process. Don't hold back the train. I know that you love him. I know you want to dance with him. Don't kiss him. Oh, Lord, don't kiss him here now. Let him come through. Let him come through. Adrian, come to your people. Adrian, come to your people. Come to your people, Star. Come and talk with your people. They love you. This is the man who will put this is the man who will put Lashley out of Parliament. This is the man who will end the political career of little Hitler. This is the man who will save you from having to watch a minister prance about in high heel shoes. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you my friend. I bring you my colleague. I bring you your next parliamentary representative. I ask you to give him a warm and rousing welcome, Adrian Medic Ford.